Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. It is Shabbat and Shavuot. A couple of shin words there, Shabbat, Shavuot. And in our tradition, even though it's a festival, you would say Shabbat Shalom first, because the thing you do most often, you say first. Right, so if it's Shabbat Shalom, if it's Shabbat and a holiday, you acknowledge Shabbat first, and then you acknowledge the holiday. So since we do Shabbat 54 times in a Jewish year, that wins, because we only do Shavuot once. But Shavuot's a great, great festival, and one of my favorites, and not just because of the cheesecake. But let's begin on page 2. We'll have Judy come forward to light the Shabbos candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As the brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad l'ner shel Shabbat.
On page 6, let's read responsively. Page 6, may the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, things to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer, more meaningful life.
All right, let's continue on page 20 with Lecha Dodi, and tonight we'll sing verses 1, 2, and 9. 1, 2, and 9 for Lecha Dodi, page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikavila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikavila. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem tiferet v'lithiva, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikavila, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Ki mekor ha-bracha, merosh mikedem nehesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikavila, bohi b'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha uv'sohala, tochem unei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikavila. Let's turn to page 22 and read in English the top paragraph, a psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With the 10-stringed harp, with the voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy in your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai! How very subtle your designs! A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadikata hamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yiske shetuli beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva B'Shemim V'Ra'ananim Yiyu Lehagi Ki Ashar Adonai Suri Velo Avlatavo. Turn the page to 24. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Turn ahead to page 145. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach Yerutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayecholu v'yomecho, uv'chayedechol beit Yisrael, b'hagala, uv'zman kariv, v'yimeru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivorach, Le'olam Olamei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitruam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei D'Kudusha B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran ve'alma v'yimeru amen. Page 146, the call to evening worship, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. And let's read together on the bottom of page 147. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. And page 148, we continue with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat
Olam, Beit Yisrael, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al-Kedanu Eloheinu b'shomenu, ufkumeinu nosiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayeinu, ve'orech yameinu, u'vayem negeyomam v'layla, negeyomam v'layla, ve'achal tasir. Minenu Yomami, Baruch Adonai, Ohei Amo Yisrael, Ohei Amo Yisrael. Page 149, Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlaktecha v'derech, uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha, uv'kshartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'hisharecha, leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'hitem kadoshim le'lohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'yot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. And we're going to continue in the middle of page 151, reading responsively in English. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We grant everyone what we think for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learn God's presence redeems time and events, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Top of page 152, the song by the sea, Mi Chamocha.
Mi kamocha Elohim Adonai, Mi kamocha Nedar
Sefer Mi kamocha Ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha Nehedar b'kodesh Norah tehilot O Sefer Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeam lifnei Moshe Zeili v'anu v'amru Adonai yimloch li'olam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo mi'ad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Up page 153, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. And let's read together at the bottom. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, aporei suchat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. And page 154, we'll continue with Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti li olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. We're going to continue with the tefillah, with the Amidah, the standing prayer. Begins on page 155. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi tehilatecha.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ahel Hagadol, Hagibor, Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaseo V'imano, Umevi Releveihem, Leman Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer Shio Magid, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham B'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim Atah L'Hoshia, Mori Atah. Mechakel Chaim V'Chesed, Mechayei Metim V'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayei Emunato, L'Ishei Afar, Michamocha Ba'Gevurot, Umidol Melech, Melech Beit Umechayech, Umasmiach Yeshua, V'ne'aman Atah L'Achayot Metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaMetim. Let's read together on page 160. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 161, Ritzeh.
Ritzeh, Ritzeh, Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu, Be'amcha Yisrael, U'tefilatam, Be'avateka Vel, U'tehila Rasum Tami, U'tehila Rasum Tami, Avodat Yisrael Amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Shatachol Levadeka, Vayir'anu Shevotecha Levadeka,
Be gracious, Adonai, our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers with love. O may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. And the top of page 163, let's read responsively. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
Page 164, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael, Bechol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasin Leolam. Tasin Leolam. Tasin Leolam. And let's read together in the middle of 164. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael v'shalom. Page 167, Yehiyu l'ratzon.
Adonai Suri, Adonai Suri, Begoali, Begoali.
All right. We're going to skip ahead to page 253 for the Mishaberach. And if you have people who need special healing this Shabbos, this Yantif, please keep them close to your heart and in your thoughts. Middle of page 253. Mishaberach Avoteinu Mikor habracha lehi mohotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor habracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Page 258, let's turn there and read together the prayer for our congregation. Top of 258. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. And on page 259, we'll continue with the prayer for Israel. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Go'olo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Ku'ulatenu, Hagein Aleha B'Evrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha V'Amitacha L'Rasheha, Sareha V'Yoetzeha, B'Tachnein Be'etzah Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam Liyoshveha, V'Nomar Amen. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and the fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. A little bit about this week's Torah portion. We're out of sequence this week. Excuse me, we're not reading a portion in the regular cycle of our Torah portions. We would be reading the Torah portion for Shavuot, and it comes out of the book of Deuteronomy in Parashat Re'eh. So it would be something that we would get to later on in the summer. But there are a couple of interesting things that are going on. First, there's a section that says that all of Bnei Yisrael are commanded to tithe, and that is to give 1/10 of their produce. And this is what you would do: is you would take this tenth, you would consume them at the place that God chooses, and this would ultimately be the temple. And while we're in the desert, it would have been the tabernacle. And if when we're settled and you have to go to Jerusalem to take your tithes, if it's too far to take your tithe, if it's too far to take your vegetables or your fruits or anything, it's too difficult to take, you can convert it into the equivalent of cash if it was too far to carry. Every third and sixth year out of the 7-year cycle, remember we talked about the sabbatical year a couple of weeks ago, every third and sixth year in that cycle, the tithe is left for the Levites who have no ancestral land holdings. They're pretty much on the public dole. The community has to take care of the Levites and the poor. So it's the third year and the sixth year out of the 7-year cycle, the tithe is left for the Levites and for the poor. And then right after that statement, we get another command that we're to care for the poor, that we're not to harden our hearts, that we're not to look at poor people as things to abuse or things to shunt aside, that we're to open our hands, not harden our hearts, but open our hands to the poor and take care of them. After a discussion of the poor, we get a very interesting piece about how to handle Hebrew slaves. There were two types of slaves in the eyes of the Torah. You had the Eved Kanaani, who was the foreign slave, who was, once you got them, you were able to keep them in perpetuity. And then there was the Eved Ivri, the Hebrew slave, the person who sold himself into bondage to pay off a debt or to work off something that he couldn't afford. And Hebrew slaves were allowed to be held for 6 years. You could have a Hebrew slave for 6 years, and on the 7th year, you're to let them go free. And you don't send them out empty-handed. You give them from your flocks, from your threshing floors, and from your vats. So you would either give them produce, or you would give them some sheep or some goats that they could start a flock. But you weren't allowed to send them out empty-handed. And if the slave wants to stay, if the slave doesn't mind being a slave, there's a ritual that would go through. You would take the slave and you would stand him at your doorpost, and you would take an awl and you would pierce his ear. And that would require the slave then to be your slave forever. He or she, it was done for female slaves as well, he or she could never leave. And then we get something that ties into Shavuot a little bit, is the consecration of the firstborn animals. They are offered to God. You have to set them aside. All the firstborn animals have to be set aside for God, and there can be no blemish. So if a cow is born with a blemish, if a cow is born lame, if a cow is born with any kind of physical defect, they weren't allowed to be consecrated to God. And then the Torah portion ends with a restatement of the Chagim, with a restatement of the festivals, which ties it into, I think, why we read it on Shavuot.
We get a restatement of Passover, we get a restatement of Shavuot, and a restatement of Sukkot to tie up this week's Torah portion, which we'll read again later on in the summer. But it's Shavuot, and like I said before, it's a forgotten holiday. There's very little fanfare for Shavuot. Rosh Hashanah has the shofar. Yom Kippur has the fast. Sukkot has the beautiful sukkah that's built outdoors. And Pesach, of course, has the Seder. But there's really nothing that we do for Sukkot nowadays, not Sukkot, Shavuot. But in the ancient days, it was just the opposite. There was pageantry. You would appear at the temple with your first fruits, and there would be liturgy that was recited, and people would travel from all over to come for this festival. But now, it's just a blip on our calendar. We had the Tikkun Le'el Shavuot last night, the learning session, which makes it special. But Shavuot has always been the also ran. If you ask people to offer up their favorite festivals, people will say Pesach, people will say Sukkot. Nobody, or very few people, say Shavuot. And there's an old joke about the three festivals. That what's the difference between the three festivals? Pesach, you can eat as much as you want. You can eat wherever you want, but you can't eat whatever you want, meaning there's dietary restrictions. For Sukkot, you can eat as much as you want. You could eat whatever you want. There's no dietary restriction, but not wherever you want. You have to eat inside the sukkah. And then for Shavuot is you can eat whatever you want. You can eat wherever you want. You can eat as much as you want. There's no real restriction. And so Shavuot seems just like another day. And it's not a full moon holiday. It's a holiday that falls on we count 7 weeks from Pesach to Shavuot. We don't have a full moon for Shavuot like we do for Pesach and Sukkot. But Shavuot, I think, answers the question that's been on our mind since Pesach. Pesach asks a lot of questions. We have the 4 questions. We have the 4 sons. We have the 4 children, rather. And the Pesach asks the question, why does God take us out of Mitzrayim? Why does God take us out of Egypt? And we walk away from the Seder with an answer, freedom. God wants us to be free. But that answer is too simple. God wants us to be free, not because we're not meant to be slaves. God wants us to be free, to be able to make choices, to develop a relationship with God and a partnership. And we call Shavuot Zman Matan Toratenu, the time of our Torah, the time of the giving of our Torah. And that's why Shavuot is so important, is that the Torah is ours. We commit to it on Shavuot. We stood at Har Sinai. All the souls that ever existed in Egypt, in Israel, stood at Har Sinai, and we committed to accepting the Torah. But we didn't just commit to taking it. We committed to interpreting it. We took it and to interpret it and to use it. It's ours. It's our inheritance. It's not something that we just put on the shelf, but it's a guidebook for us to learn from. Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, the Kotsker Rebbe, a very famous Hasidic Rebbe, said, what was given at Sinai was the same for everyone. Everybody received the same gift of Torah. But what was received varies according to each person's capacity. So we receive the Torah, but we get it as it fits us as individuals, as we are able to accept it. We just didn't receive it. We got it as a gift that we create the Torah as well, and we recreate it. We add to it, as it were, with our own experiences as we live through the Torah, as we take its teachings to our hearts. It's more than just a book. It's a way of life. It's a wisdom that we could turn to time and time again for help and for insight. And right now we have it, but we get ready to pass it on to the next generation. And we have recreated it for the next generation because we've left on our Torah the imprint of our experiences. Just as we received the Torah from those who came before us, we received the past and made it ours, and we also give it to the future. It's a conversation between generations. Our generation in conversation with the generations that came before us, and also in anticipation of the generations that will come after us. So when we read the Torah on Shavuot and on Shabbat and on all the Chagim and all the festivals, we hear not only God's voice, but our voice as well, and the voice of our family, and the voice of the generations that came before us, as well as anticipating the generations that will come after us. So Pesach asks the question, why did God give us freedom? I will propose that Shavuot also asks a question. And that question is for us to wrestle with. That question for us is to think about as we move into further into Shavuot. How are we going to become part of the Torah's conversation? Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. All right. We are near the end of our service. We are on page 282. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, v'tei kedula li'otzer b'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahen, v'goraleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu kori u'mishpachavi u'modi lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu shehu notei shamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim b'ma'al u'shminatu zo b'govei meromi u'Eloheinu eino Emet malkeinu efesu lato kakatu b'torato v'yadata hayom v'hashemota el levavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim yimal v'yaretz mita'enu. Let's read together on page 285. Let the time be not distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love.
when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz vayom hahu yihye Adonai echad u'shemo echad. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. This week we observe the following yahrzeits. Simon Fetter, husband of Goldie. Myron J. Katz, Jerry Katz's brother, Andy and Jesse's youngest son. Abraham Isaac Poland, Joan Weisberg's grandfather. Charlotte Angel, wife of Henry, mother of Etta and Max David. William L. Hartz, Maury's brother, son of Leonard and Ruby. Leela M. Jacobs Kuntz, Morris's wife, mother of Richard and Linda. Norman Stone, Sarah Malmut, mother of Ben, Esther Nechin, Anne, Saul, and Seymour. Dr. Lincoln M. Poland, Carol Solove, Jason Solove's grandmother. Rebecca Eisenberg, Pauline's Aunt Mary's sister. Edith Fetter Gamoran, sister of the Fetters, Herman, Simon, Henry, and Noah. Philip Hirsch, Susie Brodoff's and Cheryl Hirsch's father, husband to Janice. Terry Radow, Steve's wife, Judy Woodruff's sister-in-law. Sam Barak, Hal Rudin's father-in-law. Lawrence I. Glick, husband to Jane, father of Stephen and Eileen, David Glick's cousin. Ralph Peter Hayflick, Jerry and Sally's son, brother of Nancy and Faith. Sarah Lazarus, relative of May Lazarus. Jeanette Tompkins, relative of Francis Fish Tompkins. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they all rest in peace. Page 294, Warner's Kaddish. Yit Kadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma Divrach Hirutei, V'yamlik Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala V'zman Kariv V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Li'olam L'omei Maya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shmei D'Kudshah Brichu Le'elam Yinko Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechamata Da'amiram V'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. Just a couple of quick announcements. Services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and we'll be using the Siddur that we used this morning, the Sim Shalom for Shabbat and festivals, as we'll continue with festival services for Shavuot tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's kind of a big day. We got a lot to cover in services. We'll have Hallel again. We'll have Yizkor, and we'll have readings from the book of Ruth. So a lot going on tomorrow for Shavuot. And then on Sunday at 9 a.m., the regular weekday minyan. So tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Shavuot and Shabbat services. Sunday morning at 9 a.m., the weekday minyan. Yiddish choir, Wednesdays. The great Yiddish choir, the best little Yiddish choir this side of the Mississippi. Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. You can get the Zoom and join in. Sam, anything that I missed?
You want to do a ritual and music committee meeting?
Yeah.
People for listening.
Yeah, I'll send the link. I need to talk to you. Ritual music meeting by Zoom next Thursday at 6.
All right. If you're on the ritual or music committee, a Zoom meeting at 6 next Thursday. All right. Let's close out with Don Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni L'hamshilo L'hachbira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'ham Yisra V'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Hevli B'yet Tzara V'hu Nisi Humanos Li Menat Kosi B'Omekra B'Yahado Avkid Ruchi B'Yet Ishan B'Yahira B'Im Ruchi G'Viati Adonai Li V'lo Hira. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos. Chag Sameach. I want to thank Sam for being my tech guru for both services today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Oh, Evan and I had to say cottage over Zoom the other day.